What's tonight, folks? If this team get beat, we in the final four.
He's a poor man LeBron, bro, when it comes to trades. It's like, you guys look at, KD, what you go
down 3 games, it's a quick sweep.
Not cap if you want to. Cap if you want to.
You know what's in me.
When I said that they let James Harden do the same thing and let Kevin Durant do the same thing, and they're essentially letting James Harden do the same thing again.
I said Kevin Durant should have took a 50-50 blame, and Westbrook should have took a 50-50 blame too.
MJ fade away with the eyes closed.
No fancy soundboard, but bust motherfucking down. You already know your boys is back on this beautiful ass Tuesday. You know what I mean? Happy Memorial Day to all the folks out there. Got my guy in the building. Boo up, what up, man?
What's the word, my brother? How you feeling?
Pretty good, man. You know what it is. Can't call it. How about you, dog?
Man, I'm chilling, man. You know, playoff basketball, right?
Hey, brother. Playoff basketball is right. No Troy today. He's out getting his education, getting his GED and whatnot. So we'll see him at another time. But where you want to start, bro? You want to start with this OKC, or you want to start with this current series that we're watching right now with this Pacers Knicks?
Well, since it's live, we start in Indiana, right? I mean, they gonna beat you with the whole team. Even though Tyrese is with you. And he's bad, but that whole team make them special. It's shout out to Rick Carlisle. It's that offense that they're running, bro. Like,
yeah,
you watch it, it's just like everybody's a part of the offense. You don't know who's going to take that shot. You really do. So it's hard to game for a team like that.
Yeah, that's true.
The Knicks, I know it's gonna go on Tim's shoulders, obviously, and something should. But I mean, some of these guys defensively aren't playing up to par. Guys like Nembhard and Neesmith should not be having these offensive explosions in these series. Like when you got in the OG and a newbie, like I don't understand, honestly. Like these guys are making this money. They're 3-and-D guys. Like I'm just a little perplexed, but at the same time, shout out to Indiana.
I mean, what you said was absolutely correct, and I think you brought up a big point there with the OG Anunobys, the Josh Harts, the Mikal Bridges, them not stepping up on the defensive factor, right? Because in game 2, I noticed that it was a problem. Like, yeah, no, these niggas can't stop these boys, right? And like you said, they're not one-centric to the point where they're looking at one guy to, score the basket or save them. Like, anybody's going to take that shot, dog, and you got to be ready for that because just like now, like they move the ball so fluently and so well that somebody's going to have an open shot somewhere, and that's the scary part about this team. But when it comes to the defense, right, I think that's a really big point because a lot of people don't really bring up the fact that, yeah, offensively, you guys are scoring a lot of points. You guys are keeping the game close offensively, right? But these, like you said, these are 3-and-D guys, bro. Like Naismith, Nembhard, bro. Like shit, Obi Toppin, bro. Like these are three. Obi's a rebound dunk guy. You know what I mean? Like there's no reason why he should be getting open looks and no reason why he should be in the fast break with nobody back, right? Aaron Naismith going crazy in the third, dropping 5 3-pointers, right? Like Andrew Nembhard out rebounding Josh Hart, which most people would think is crazy, right? Out rebounding Josh Hart, outworking Josh Hart, and then he's hitting his big shots when he gets them. Like it's the defensive effort, bro. And when they're getting inside shots, when they're getting outside shots, when the ball is moving fluently and nobody's rotating, nobody's closing out, it can't just be offense. You can't just go and be like, oh, we're just going to score the ball and score more points than them. Like at some point in time, you got to get a stop. Like you got to get a stop. And I think Indiana has yeah, their offense is very fiery, but they get stops in pivotal times.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them do that plenty of times, and I'm like, New York hasn't done that. You know what I mean? Like they haven't taken that opportunity to get stops in pivotal moments to where now you got the game, right? You got the clutch player of the year. Now it's y'all game. I've seen Indiana do that way more times than I can count. And I think that's where the difference lies at this moment.
Yeah, they just like you said, they're making the timely stops when need be, and then they're also again they're just utilizing the entirety of the team, and then on top of that, it's truly Tyrese Halliburton, and people will say what they want about that kid. You know, he's Mr. Overrated coming into the playoffs, but he's answering every round. He's this is his best round of the playoffs when it matters most.
Yep.
So I think the combine of that alone is what's really propelling this Indiana team. Tyrese Halliburton has looked like the best player in this series.
Honestly. And I think that's not even crazy to say, right? Because that kind of poses me to the question that is the title of today's show. Is the moment too big, right? And obviously not for Tyrese Halliburton, because we've seen him in time and time again in every single game and every single one of these series come up absolutely huge, right? But when you look at New York and you look at the field, you look at the market that New York is, you look at the fan base that New York is, you look at the history and everything that comes with being not only in the city of New York, but having the moniker of the New York Knicks, right? And then finally making it to an Eastern Conference championship, right? Finals is on the line. Is it crazy to say that the moment got too big for him?
Not at all. I mean, I think that is it for the most part. I heard somebody on the live. I was on the TikTok live. And he's a New Yorker. He was basically saying how it's pandemonium right now. Like, you know, like the fans are obviously at a all-time high right now. Like this is they've been in 20 years, 25 years, right? I think the last time they 2000. So yeah, that's 25 years just watching the Knicks essentially be mediocre. You know what I mean? Like you had some bright spots for Melo for a couple of years, but it's just been pretty much this is their best run since the Melo years, and it's gotta be probably for a city like that. Because I remember in 2011 when the Bulls got to the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I'm saying? Like the closest we've been since I want to say 98, right? And that was only 13 years. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, like major cities like that, you know, you from the LA area, that area, you know, when the Lakers went on that 3-4 year drought, I'm pretty sure the people out there is used to, you know, results, winning at its finals. So I can imagine New York. They've been starving since the 70s for a title. So like, I think that is on these players right now, currently that's playing on this roster. They know what's at stake, and I do believe some of this is pressure. You know what I'm saying? To try to carry this franchise to the finals, and not just because that's for any team.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of getting there if you're not going to win? Like, I never understood that celebrating that second place trophy. Well, we got to the finals and yeah, but who wants to lose in the finals? Yeah. So that's more pressure for that New York team. I think sometimes teams overthinking, like, man, we get to the finals, you know, but you ain't even got past the Eastern Conference Finals at this moment. So I think a lot of it is pressure for this team. It's a lot riding. They're one of the highest paid rosters in the NBA, and it's not looking good right now. It's looking like they're going to go down potentially 3-1. Good thing for them, unlike the next teams we're going to talk about, you're going home. That would be the only bright spot for the Knicks right now. They'll be able to play 25 at home in front of the crowd, and hopefully they stay alive.
Yeah. Before I attack this real quick, I wanted to ask you a question about Tibbs. What does this say about him and his now, I guess you can say, legacy, since we were having the legacy talk a few weeks ago, when it comes to big games or big moments? And is there going to be a time where people start to view Tibbs as just another coach and not one of the coaches that has to be had in this league?
For the most part, I do think his legacy will be culture builder. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna establish you a foundation for your team. He's done that everywhere he went. But I do think the game has somewhat passed him up to at this point. Teams play offense, and he's never been good at offense. And I think you can. I don't think you have to penalize him like as a coach. You can judge him and say that he's just not an innovator, right? And that's okay. You can still give him credit for what he do. And for the most part, that he's building coaches. He's holding players accountable. You don't play no defense, you don't play. And you can say he run his teams down, and I agree to a certain extent, even though I think a lot of it still be injuries.
True.
You can't always have that next man up mentality if guys aren't actually good enough to even really be playing. Now I'm just forcing guys to play. And I get it. Sometimes you got to see what a guy got in live time, but then sometimes, again, that's the old school mentality I do think he still has, where he just trusts his guys. He goes with what he goes, and he runs a tight ship. So, like I said, as far as his legacy, I would still look at him like, I'm not saying like a Jerry Sloan or anything like that, but Jerry Sloan never won a title. He never got it done, and I think people have huge respect for him. And he only coached one team for the most part.
Yeah.
Only one. And he had 2 Hall of Fame players pretty much his whole duration there. I think you can still look at Tibbs again as a guy that he to me, I think he got the most out of his teams. I'm looking at these players right now in New York more than him. Like I said, to take some of this because he is the coach. He has to take some. But I still ultimately believe players are the ones that make coaches and not the other way around. Can a coach develop players and get them better? For sure. But it's ultimately up to that player to want to be better. And in turn, if he wants to be better, I think that would ultimately make the coach look better. So, yeah, I think we just need to. It all depends on how you just view Tibbs personally, as far as his legacy. Me personally, I think he's a Hall of Fame coach at the end of the day. That don't make him top 10 or top 15 coach. But I think in this era of basketball with the teams that he's had, I think he at least got the most out of them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I agree with that. As far as the Knicks go with the pressure and the moment might be too big for him, I think it did kind of catch up to him a lot, right? Like them not being part of this for the better part of 20 years, them not winning the championship since the 70s. I think that plays a factor in having to perform at a certain level to where not only is expected by the fans, but expected by all the other outsiders and speculators and analysts that we're going to, hear and listen to talk about. And when you have a team that, like you said, is one of the highest paid rosters in the NBA, when you have a team that's consisted of three guys that have won a national championship together, right? And then you add another guy like Cat. It does beg the question, like, why? How? You know what I mean? Like, how is it that you guys lose to, if most people are gonna call it a lesser Pacers team, right? And I think that a lot of people don't factor in the outside, damn, what word am I looking for? The outside expectations, right? Like, not just from the inside, not just from the organization itself, but from the fans and from the city, the culture, right? Because this is a big moment for everybody, and I think a lot of people forget that when players or when stars are trying to perform up to a certain level in order to hold a certain standard, sometimes that standard can be a little out of reach, and you might be a year too early. I'm not saying that they were, but injuries happen here and there, but I just think that with this team, with this moment, it might have just been just a little too much for them to shelter. And then when it comes to Tibbs, I don't think that his legacy really takes a hit. I know a lot of people are gonna try to create that narrative, but I think like you said, like players, like they make the coaches, they make or break the team, right? Like the coaches are there, right? And they're obviously gonna provide the game plan and coach when they need to coach, and get players and develop players to a level that they need to be. But like I feel like players still have to go out there and execute. You still got to go out there and execute the game plan. And when it comes to New York, when it comes to the Knicks, some of these Knicks players, I just feel like sometimes they don't have the moments that they need to have, right? When you look at the type of players that they are, you look at the type of money that they're making, the type of caliber player that people, expect them to be. A lot of these guys aren't up to par. They don't live up to the legend. And I don't think that plays a factor in Tibbs. I think that plays a factor in them. And, he can come out and draw up a perfect game plan, but I say at the end of the day, as a player, it's like, how bad do you want it? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it's still mano a mano. They still got to stop you. And if every single time you guys are just going to come out and it seems like there's always a bad game, there's always a this, there's always a that, there's always something going on, it's like at some point in time, y'all got to look within. We can't look at the coaches. We can't look at this guy or that guy. Like, y'all got to look within as a team and be like, yeah, no, this is on us because like we did this. You know what I mean? Like this is something that we created. This is something that we contributed to. And we got to take onus of that. So I don't think that everybody can kind of try to pile on Tibbs and try to say that it's all his fault and everything like that, because there are narratives out there right now. He's being outcoached, and him being in the Eastern Conference Finals, the moment might be too big for him. But I just don't think that's the case. I think that this is a young, fiery Pacers team. They're playing out of their mind. Tyrese Halliburton is playing his best basketball. All the other guys are playing their best basketball, and I think that Tibbs is trying to get his guys to play the best basketball that they can play, but they're just not doing it. They're not up to not living up to the moment, I guess.
They're really not, bro. And man, it's again to me, it's really about Tyrese Halliburton, man. The man just had an incredible game. 32, 15, and 10, 0 turnovers. Like that's the first 30, 10, 15 game in NBA history with 0 turnovers. Like
0.
that lets you know the level he's playing at right now. It's very, very impressive. And so it's more so for me. Sometimes this happens, where you see a player just overcoming. Like that's what he's doing. He's rewriting the narrative. There should be no more talks about Tyrese Halliburton being overrated. If anything, it should be talks about him being underrated.
Underrated. Yep.
Like this is the reality. People don't like his game, and he's changing the narrative because he is a pass first point guard, but he's showing I can get buckets when I need to get buckets.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing that while also running the offense.
Yep.
So shout out to Tyrese, man.
Yeah. Them boys balling right now. Them boys balling right now. Of course, you know, as we were in the middle of that segment, they wrapped up the game. Let's go ahead and get that final score for everybody. It wasn't necessarily pretty. The Knicks, and this is one thing I don't like about, and this is the reason why I feel like it's not necessarily a coaching thing, and it's more of a player kind of thing, right? Because towards the end of the game, final score was 130 to 121. But towards the end, right, you start to see the Knicks get a little bit desperate, right? Now, of course, with players getting desperate, teams getting desperate, obviously they start shot chucking. But it wasn't even the fact that they were shot chucking; it was the fact that they were taking bad shots, and in a game that was essentially close until the last basically minute and a half. Not even a minute and a half, probably 45 seconds. It's like, if you take smarter shots as players, right? If you follow the offense and take smarter shots as players, then there's a way back into this game. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the reason why I feel like it's not necessary. It can't just be a Tibbs thing. It has to be a players thing at some point in time, because they got to take some onus, right? You can't just go out there and be throwing up stupid shots just in the name of trying to come back. But that's one thing I've always felt interesting when it comes to certain players. Like they'll resort to doing that instead of taking the best shot or picking the best shot. And it's like, come on, bro. Like we could have had a better shot than that. You know what I mean?
No, facts. It's panic mode.
Man, instantaneously. That's one thing my coach always told me: never panic. But speaking of panic, is it time for the T-Wolves to start panicking?
Absolutely. Again, I don't want to say the moment got big, because obviously Ant's been in the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a classic case of, again, stars are being born, right? Shea is obviously the MVP, playing on the best team in the NBA currently.
Yep.
It's looking like the Thunder are actually who they say they are, right? That's what it's looking like. I don't want to make it sound like real nasty, but it's just what it is. Like, this was the better team in the regular season, and they're showing up in the playoffs as the better team. Their defense is incredible. They're slowing down Anthony Edwards like no other team has done this playoffs.
True.
And this is truly the best defense that Ant's seen all playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's just a combination of that. People are going to, blame Julius Randle, of course, but I think up until that game in particular, like, that was probably his worst game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's been balling. So I just still think you have to you can look at Ant and say shot selection still is questionable at times.
True.
But that defense is still, man, Lou Dort is a hell of a defender, bro. He's a first team all defensive player, bro. Like,
yep.
Like, he's great at defense. And then you got a guy like Caruso you're throwing on him. You got guys, bro, that's hooping. And Jalen Williams and Chet, these boys are showing up. Like, so shout out to the Thunder, bro. Like, it's good to see teams actually do what they did and actually, live up to it. Because I mean, basically, some of us thought we was going to see Cleveland and the Thunder, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cleveland was looking like this well-oiled machine in the regular season, and then first round against Miami, they smoked them boys by what record margins, 30 plus each game, or some crazy shit like that. Like,
Yep.
you just thought the way they started the playoffs that that they would at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they didn't. So I'm just looking at this Thunder team like, okay, they actually are who they say they are, and they fought a tough series. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is to play like a tough 7-game grinded out series like they did against the Nuggets. That kind of gets you, to that point where you know what it feels like to be up, you know what I'm saying, like back against the wall type deal, you know what I'm saying, where you got to come perform. They went down with, I think they went down 0-1 that series first.
Nuggets won that first game of the series.
Yeah, so they clawed their way back into that series and ultimately did what they needed to do. And I think that's just making you more battle tested, especially for a young team like that.
Yeah.
They just right now they got Shea hooping, they got the defense rolling, and it's looking like it's trouble for the Timberwolves. I don't see a scenario unless you telling me Ant and is finna go out here and put up about 45, because he's gonna probably have to. He'll have to have his best playoff game in his young career. More than likely to beat this Thunder team the way they're playing right now. It's going to take a miracle.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's at that point. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that the moment is too big for the T-Wolves. Like you said, they've been to the Western Conference Finals before. I just think that, and I know my comments from, the other week, they might have heard that and they might, have felt some type of way. Fellas, obviously I apologize, right? Got that boy TD34 in the comments. What's up with my boy, man? Better team. This is true. This is true. Well, I mean, I think that's the ultimate factor, right? I think that's what plays the biggest part into it is that, like I said, the moment might not be too big for the T-Wolves, but I just think that OKC is showing up in the right places, right? And like I said, might have heard my comments from last week. I apologize, fellas, right? Because I did refer to them. I didn't want to use the word soft, but it unfortunately was the word that I, ended up using. Obviously, they made me eat them words because them boys been out there getting after it, right? They came out, in the third game, and obviously got a slacking on them. But every other game before that, they literally been putting belt to ass, right? So, and even when it starts off close, you see that the better team starts to take over late in the game, i.e., third quarter, around 6-7 minutes left. That's when OKC turned it up. You know what I mean? That's when they kick it into a different kind of gear, and they're like, "Yeah, nah, like y'all, you thought that you could fuck with us, but you really can't fuck with us, bro." Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think it's a slow beat down, right? Like, it's a slow brew, it's a slow cook type shit, right? Like, you think you're in the game, you think you're doing something real, but you're not. We have you right where we want you because now we're just going to take off. And you got Shea dropping 40. You got Alex Caruso. That man is out there playing crazy defense, right? Like you said, the Dortcher Chamber, Lou Dort, absolutely amazing defender, right? Both Jalen Williams are balling right now. Chet is playing probably the biggest that he's ever played. I'm not talking about actual like logically big, right? Like he's playing physically big. Like I know a lot of the people were trying to put the narrative that, oh, well, he's going to get bullied by Rudy Gobert. And, there's going to be a lot of guys like Julius Randle that's going to go on the inside and use the muscle on him. And he's been playing, what I'm saying? He's been holding that position. He's been playing stout on the inside. So I think ultimately what it comes down to, right, is not Ant-Man because, he obviously is going to get his shots and stuff like that. And, he has had a valuable effort through the past few games, but I think it's the others, right? Just like we talked about with the Pacers, I think it's the others, the DiVincenzo's, the Nas Reed. Nas Reed has not played well this whole series, right? The TJ McDaniel, like these guys aren't playing well, right? Like they're not shooting well, they're not playing well, they're not defending well, and I think that's the ultimate difference when it comes to this series, right? Like I said, I'm not saying the moment is too big. I just think that they picked their worst time to play bad basketball.
Indeed. That defense is, Jalen McDaniels is one of the best young defenders in this league. I mean, and I don't want to say like because Shea is, he's the best scorer in this league.
Yep.
So I mean, even if it's debatable, you want to say whoever, but he's definitely first or second, right? At this point. I think it's that's what's ultimately countering Jalen's offense. You got to stop a guy like that. It's already you're probably not going to stop him. You need to at least try to make it hell, but you're really not even doing that. He's really just having his way, and I think that affects you as a defender already. That a guy's basically having his way, which pause.
Huh.
But it could also, I think it could be damning on the other end as well because you're like, damn, pause again. But like where it's to the point where you can't even concentrate offensively, like because you just, you know what I'm saying? It's a mental thing. Like a lot of that should be mental. I'm not saying like exactly what it is, but I think that could be part of it. Just being fatigued, running through. You're guarding a legit guy right now. Like this guy, this is not no disrespect to a Jimmy Butler or a, you know what I'm saying, or well, he did guard Luka and Bron. So I mean, Shay's just a little different right now. Shay's a different cover. Like he's attacking you. Like it's just a different cover. So I think all of it, like you said, still boils back down to they're just not playing their best brand of basketball, and it's showing right now. And they're gonna need a huge game from Ant. They're gonna need that game 3 type of approach that he gave them, and you're gonna need a big game from everybody. Honestly, you're gonna need them, like you said, them others to be better, and I just think that's scary to ask too, though, of guys going on the road. Like normally, get the role players typically play a little bit better at home. I think it's just going to be tough for Minnesota right now. I can't really see them pulling this off. I can't see Ant even really dropping 40 right now. I mean, if he do, that'd be just what they need. Obviously, that'd be a good start. I'm not gonna say that's gonna guarantee a win. I think you still need Julius Randle to show up as well, and the others as well. You're gonna have to this team. This team is loaded, and they're in a good. They're confident right now. They feeling real good right now. It'll take a lot, so we'll see though, right?
We definitely will. And I think when it comes to Shea, and Jaden McDaniel, I just think that it's when you guard LeBron, when you guard the Lucas, when you guard the Jimmys, it's different when you guarding somebody like of Shea's caliber when he's younger, he's faster, he's more twitchier, he has a crazy first step. He's been working so much on the shot to where now you can't just guard him off the dribble. You have to guard him in all ways, shapes, and form and fashions, right? So that just only gives more to his repertoire, more to his game. So, and I think you brought up a good point that when you're not having your best game defensively, it will affect you offensively, especially when you're looked at as more of a defensive guy. And so, for lack of better words, man, when you getting cooked, dog, that shit don't feel good. You know what I mean? So, I think when it comes to both of these teams, I just think the Wolves are just playing. They just chose a bad series to play a bad brand of basketball. You see they're late on rotations, missing open shots, horrible shot selection. If not, a lot of people want to harp on that. But they're just not playing a good brand of basketball right now. Let's see.
They not getting that many paint touches.
Yeah. I don't think so because they were there last year, right? So we can't necessarily call them young and inexperienced because they were there last year. You got the sixth man of the year, Nas Reed. You have a champion on your team in Dante DiVincenzo. Like I said, they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. Rudy Gobert is he's not shy to any big moment, right? Him being in Utah, being in multiple playoff scenarios. I just think that one, OKC's defense is something different. I think a lot of people underestimated OKC's defensive ability and their defensive stronghold, right? Isaiah Hartenstein, right? Chet, right? Which I don't think a lot of people are talking too much about Isaiah Hartenstein on the inside and what he's been doing to Rudy Gobert, right? Because it's a clear mismatch, right? I'm watching the game last night. It's a clear mismatch, right? 2-point game. They about to try to throw it in, or not even about to try to throw it in. That's a free throw, and obviously Ant's trying to miss it on purpose. But Isaiah Hartenstein does such a great job of boxing out Rudy Gobert. Like both of them. Like it's crazy because Julius Randle got pushed all the way off the block too, and it's just like that type of effort from those guys, from the Chet, from the Isaiahs, from the Jay, or from both the Williams kids, right? From the Lou Dort, like. That is, I think, the ultimate difference, right? I just think that the T-Wolves thought that they was going to come in and see a young, soft OKC team, right? Them being a little bit older, right? Them having a little bit more experience with a lot of the roster players on the roster, right? You got a Mike Conley who's a seasoned vet. Like I said, you got the Rudies, Ant's been there before. You got a Dante DiVincenzo who's a champion. They're thinking, right? And I'm not saying this is guaranteed, but I'm saying like what most people are thinking in that situation or in that moment that, oh, well, they're young. They got bounced in the second round last year, first round last year. They're not going to really be no kind of threat to us because we've been there before. Not knowing that, last year, right, may have taught them boys something. And then like Buop said, them going to a 7-game series with, a league MVP in his own right, a 3-time league MVP in his own right, finals champions in their own right, them going all the way to a game 7, testing that dog, testing that will. I think OKC came in a little bit more hungry in this series than the T-Wolves. I think the T-Wolves thought that they was going to kind of walk all over him. Maybe they was listening to the pod the other day too when I called him soft.
Good. It's crazy because, both teams got something in common, right? Last year, Ant played a 7-game series against the defending champions.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's ironic that these are the two teams that both played the defending champions in the last 2 years. And here they are meeting. And it's like, again, I think I don't want to say adding them gas. I think it's this defense, that's really neutralizing everybody for that matter. Because nobody's playing well right now. But you can say Julius Randle has been the best Timberwolves overall the 4 games. Ant's been kind of controlled, and I don't know, bro. I don't really see them really getting out this situation right now. Again, it's going to take a lot of Ant going berserks, Julius Randle going berserks. One of the maybe even 2. I don't care which 2. Nikolai, Shea Cousin, whoever. I don't give a fuck.
You got to be somebody.
Better be playing better because it's finna get ugly.
Yeah,
that Thunder Arena, it's finna get ugly. Game 5. If nobody's playing well, it's gonna be a blowout before fucking halftime.
I don't doubt that at all.
Guaranteed.
I don't doubt that at all because like you said, it's gonna take, you know what I'm saying, like everybody's saying that Ant-Man is the son of Jordan. Well, he gonna have to turn into him. He better turn into him. You know what I mean? Shit. He gonna have to drop like 45, 50 damn near. And you're gonna need a big game from Julius Randle. You're gonna need a big game from Nas Reed. Shit. Like he said, it's gonna need the shit. Nikhil Alexander, whatever the fuck his name is, the cousin, like Buwap said, he gonna have to come step up. Dante DiVincenzo, the champion on the team, he gonna have to come step up. Rudy Gobert, right? We need you to have a series like you did against the Lakers. He gonna have to step up. It's gonna take a Herculean effort for these guys to crawl and scratch their way from a 3-1 lead. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's and like don't let these boys get up, man. Don't let these boys get up in OKC, dog. You cannot let them do that. That stadium, that crowd, that energy. Nah.
You're gonna feel like the game over with in the first quarter, because if they get out to a fast start, bro, it's going to manifest, bro, into like a 30-point lead and out of nowhere. By the time the fucking second, like, mark my words.
Yep, the barrage is gonna start and it's not gonna stop.
Them gotta come out like this is their last game. This, like, for real, this is our last. This could be our last game in the playoffs, because it is.
Because it is. Now they're gonna come out and play like be able to play at all anymore. Like that, this is your last game ever type shit. And the next game, you got to think about this your last game ever, because it's gonna take that type of effort, man. And I think when it comes to this OKC team, when they add, you know what I'm saying, because like you said, they're basically in the same position, right? They have a young star, they have a whole bunch of really nice compliments to go with the young star, right? But OKC got a champion over there too, right? They got Alex Caruso. Right, they got guys who have proverbially been there before, right? So I think a lot of times people forget that these acquisitions, man, they make a hell of a difference, bro. And a lot of the times, we focus on the big stars, right? The big names. Oh, where's this guy going? Where's this guy going? Right? For example, Giannis. Everybody's waiting to see where he's going to end up next season. But what about the others? What about the guys that really help? You know what I'm saying? Swing a championship in the favor or in the manner of a franchise. And I think that matters. And we see that a lot when it comes to these championship teams, and why teams don't repeat and why teams don't go back to back, or why we haven't had a 3-peat champion since the Lakers, right? It's because the others they matter, and the others they're gonna matter, for the rest of the series on both sides, the T-Wolves and the Knicks, right? Because we see the others on OKC and the Pacers playing their ass off.
That's the crazy part, bro. Like, it takes, like, it shouldn't. That's why I say it. Some of it is about the others. Mm-hmm. The others need to just be the others, though, right? Still, if the others played well, game 4 for the Timberwolves, right?
Yeah.
I still think the way Ant and Julius Randle played, ultimately, you're gonna lose still.
Definitely, especially the way Shea played.
Exactly. Like you still need your stars to perform. So it's still gonna fall on the shoulders of the stars. The stars cannot play that bad. The stars cannot be a combined, I think there was 20 points, 23 points, some shit like that. But like, it
was not good.
That is not going to ever be a recipe or part of a recipe for winning for that team ever. True. So it's going to always, like, for me, when I look at the teams that did win back-to-back, you got the Warriors in years, then you have the Heat in recent years. And obviously was the Kobe Lakers. Their stars had to always perform, no matter.
That's true.
Their stars, the role players were role playing, but the stars had to be the stars. You never were going to expect the Lakers to win a series and Kobe Bryant is playing fucking terrible. Like, you're just not going to imagine that. And that's kind of just the reality of what we're seeing with the Timberwolves. The stars aren't playing well. Anthony Edwards isn't playing well. So it's not going to be a recipe. But against a great team, nah, not going to happen.
That's true. That's true. And I think that's, the ultimate difference right there, man. You know what I mean? It's a perfect storm. It's a perfect equation. It's the perfect recipe. You know what I'm saying? You got to have your stars playing well, but at the same time, your others got to step up and play. You know what I'm saying? They got to play well. They got to play well too. And if it's not, then there's always going to be that tipping of the scale to where somebody somewhere, some team is going to have the upper hand because they haven't put together to where their stars are playing well and the others are playing well. But other than that, not a long show today. That's all we had on the docket. Let's go ahead and get these final thoughts in. Boo up, care to kick us off?
Man. It's looking like we finna have us a I don't want to celebrate too early, but man, it's looking like we got OKC and Indy in the finals, man. By the time we probably get back on here. And I just want to say, man, I didn't pick neither one of these teams, honestly, to make it to the finals. So I figured I thought the star power in Anthony Edwards and the Jalen Brunsons of the world, because they looked like they were ascending before this playoff series started, like into that next conversation. And Shea said, Tyrese Halliburton said, So, man, we're gonna see what this next couple of days hold for the NBA. So I'm excited. See you guys today.
I think, it's a fair point, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody thought that the Jalen Brunsons of the world, the Ant-Mans of the world were, going to be the stars of the show. But, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, Shea, they felt something different. So we'll definitely monitor that. Like Buwap said, we might see the finals matchup by the time we come back on Monday. So, we'll see how that plays out. Make sure you guys tune into the rest of the shows throughout the rest of the week. I believe tomorrow, Gentlemen's Talk got another round of 32 coming at you. Disney Channel Songs Edition. So you guys aren't going to miss that. Make sure you guys tune into that. Be all in the comments with your Disney Channel songs, favorite Disney Channel song suggestions, etc. And turn my boys up, man. Thursday, you already know, PVT. Make sure you don't miss it. And then we doubling back Friday. Inside the Huddle, talking that ish. So make sure you guys don't miss it. Keep liking, commenting, subscribing. We'll keep bringing y'all this dope ass content. We will see y'all later. Peace.